Does your cat scream at you? Did you get all situated on the couch with your favorite book or favorite TV show, and your cat screams at you? And you're like, what? And they scream. And you're like, what? And they scream. Meow, 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 meow. So you get up out of your comfy couch and you go to see what's wrong, and they're like 5 feet behind you, and they're like, what? That wasn't me. That wasn't me. Nope, nope. Wasn't me. Nope. And starts taking a bath, lifting a paw, or lifting a leg. That wasn't me. It wasn't her. It wasn't her. I will have to say that this is out of the 127 episodes that I have recapped on this recap. This one went the fastest. Now, they started with 101, so I guess it's 106 episodes that I've recapped. I hope you have watched them all with me. According to my analytics, you probably haven't. But anyways, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects going on here. But we are on season 6, uh, season 7, season 7? Season 6. We are on season 6. Um, episode 227, Times Arrow, part 2. Or maybe it is 7. I've really got myself screwed up now. But anyways, we did Times Arrow part 1 last week. We are doing Realm of Fear next week. We are doing Man of People, and then Relics. I so hope you will stay tuned with me for all of those episodes. And I will have to say that this one went the quickest for me. I usually take quite a few notes, make a few comments throughout, and I was so involved in the episode that I was like, what do you mean it's over? It just started. This is the very first one in 106 episodes that went that quickly for me. That even some of the Borg ones, this one went the fastest for me. So they start off. I'm really not gonna do. Well, I guess I have to because I got to go through the clips anyway. They start off with a recap of the last episode. So let's get to it. Okay, I forgot. Season 6, episode 1, Times Arrow, part 2. So, quite a few of the other ones in the other discs, this screen is moving. It doesn't do that in this one. I noticed that. So, Times Arrow, part 2. We found Data's head a mile beneath San Francisco. Been there 5 centuries. They found Data's head at some future point. Geordi tells Guinan that they found Data's head a mile beneath San Francisco 5 centuries ago. Data says at some future date I will be transported back to the 19th century Earth where I will die. It has occurred. It will occur. Data is transported back to San Francisco. Data runs into Samuel Clemens and Guinan, and he's telling her that they were on a ship together, the Enterprise. And Guinan's like, "Is that a clipper ship?" And he's like, "It's a starship." And Clemens says, "Starship," and Guinan knows she's in trouble. She's got to pull Data aside for a private conversation. These are your villains. These are your aliens that are stealing humans' energy and killing them. This may be the only good shot I get the whole episode, so I'm going to show it. Because I got so carried away with watching it. They killed Data's friend, the miner, who was in 49er. Clementine! Oops. Data has a talk with Guinan, supposedly in private, but unbeknownst to them, Samuel Clemens is hiding behind the door. Did my father send you here? Because if he did, you must call him back. I'm not done listening. Data says, I was not sent by your father. Our ship encountered a species who appears to be threatening 19th century Earth. And then we switch to Riker. Riker says, I'm not willing to accept that he's dead and just leave it at that. Picard said, we cannot make Data our priority. Riker says, what is more important? Then we get a telling piece of information. So then Guinan says, do you remember the... Okay, I'm recording this 2 ways because I've done this video 2 times already and the audio has gone both times. So I'm trying this out. Let's see how this goes. Maybe someone will have responded to my YouTube. I'm sorry to interrupt I'm going to try and merge the videos. But we're here and, Picard is talking to Guinan and she tells him, she says, do you remember the first time we met? And she says, of course. And she says, don't be so sure. If you don't go on this mission, we'll never meet. And I'm wondering, well, maybe they would have met in the future under different circumstances and they wouldn't have had this previous experience to build upon because Picard didn't know about this. Picard didn't know that this had occurred when they met his first time with her. But she knew of a previous first time. So let's see how that works. So that was the recap. And they go through the portal. They go through the thing and they all end up back in San Francisco. So Samuel Clemens is walking down the street with the reporter. And she's going off. Figures. I get this all situated and she's going off. Please check out Dirty 30 New Year's Eve video for the identity of the culprit here. I have long been interested in the notion of time travel. In fact, I wrote a book about it. It chronicles the tale of a man of our era who fouled the 6th century by introducing newfangled gadgets and weapons, all in the name of progress. This idea of time travel is not so far-fetched as it might seem. In fact, I have learned that even now there are people from the future right here in San Francisco. And I have no doubt that their intent is to foul our world just as my Yankee did in King Arthur's time. Well, sir, let me serve notice. As soon as I have the necessary evidence, I intend to expose them and make absolutely clear that they are not welcome here. Yes, sir. And will this be a sequel to Connecticut Yankee, Mr. Twain? The name's Clemens, sons. Sam Clemens. That's with an E. Got it, with an E. And he got the Sue name, and I had it all written down, and I've lost it. And that's me, my inadequateness self here. But apparently, that was the depth of the water. They would yell out Twain. Some stories say he was for the boat, and some stories say for a bar. But that's where he got the pen name Mark Twain. And I had the papers here, and I have misplaced them, and that's on me. And I've had a difficult couple of days. That's no excuse. But if you would all please excuse me, my inadequacy today. I'm trying to do these videos. Hopefully they will work. If not, I'm in trouble because I don't know what to do. So I'm using old Betsy here, Miss Binder clip with the new guy. So we'll see what happens here. And as he walks by, let me see if I can do this. So then Data's walking down the street and he bypasses the couple, and Clemens is behind Data. Okay, this isn't too good of a view, but Riker's dressed as a cop. Now, I'm going to point this out again later that uh, they had where'd they get the clothing from? Did they steal the clothing? Because they don't have the money to pay rent on the room, but they had the money for clothing. They could have just replicated. They knew. Well, I guess they didn't know exactly when, but I'll get to that spiel later. But they're in the hospital here, and Riker says the coroner said this is where they kept all the cholera victims. Dr. Crusher takes a tricorder out. It doesn't make any sense to so many people of dying of cholera. It's not that virulent, Will. This is strange. What is? The cerebellum, the cerebral cortex, the brainstem, the entire nervous system has been deleted of electrochemical energy. Here's another one. Some neural depletion. These people did not die of cholera. They died because their natural energy was drained somehow. Drained and taken to Davidia 2 for those aliens to ingest? If you were a time traveler with a taste for human neural energy, where would you get your supply? I would travel back to a time when there were plagues and epidemics so I could murder and use disease as cover. I honestly forget which group shot I used last time. I apologize for my inadequacy again. Um, but they're in the hotel room now. Um, Over half the victims whose neural energy has been drained came from the Sisters of Hope Infirmary, a charity hospital near the waterfront, Riker says. If the aliens have been killing people there, well, someone might have noticed something unusual, Troy says. Picard says, and if they're moving among humans, they must have taken on human form. But the question is, how do we know who we are looking for? The tricorder indicated triolic activity from most of the bodies we looked at. If the aliens left that sort of signature, they'll be detectable. You know, we might even be able to rig some kind of alien alarm system, Geordi says. Any luck locating data, Riker says. None. The tricorder broadcasting random emissions on all frequencies his subprocessors might pick up, but the range is limited. Almost anything could interfere. Uh, and then there's a knock at the door. I wanted to point out, why is Picard so casually dressed? For the Western part, I guess. And why is Geordi in a three-piece suit? So what do you think of Riker's hair? Cute? There's Jordy in his suit. He's looking good. You know, after 7 seasons, why hasn't he gone for that that procedure that the doctor mentioned in season 2? Why do we have to wait till the movies for him to get his visor off? So then Mrs. Carmichael comes in and she's telling him that I'll be reminding you that it is 1 o'clock. Yes, Picard says. 1 o'clock on a Thursday. I'm sure I made it clear to you that the rent is always payable in full on Wednesday. Yes, the rent. Mrs. Carmichael. Now my troupe are in rehearsals for a new production. Oh, I haven't heard of any new production. What play is it? A Midsummer's Night Dream. We have performed in London, Milan, to sold out houses. I assure you we'll have the rent in full with a bonus. No, no, no. I've heard your civil tongued devils before. I'll have the rent in full tomorrow by 1 o'clock, or you'll be out performing on the street. And I have to show you a cute moment if I can do it. Okay, the cute moment is later. It's not in this scene, but she's still. They had the money for the clothing. Why didn't have the money for rent? And when I'll get to that later. I have another beef with this too. Okay, so the bellboy is letting Mr. Clemens in Data's room. I wouldn't do this for anybody, Mr. Clemens, and I hope you won't spread it around that I let you in. People start talking. And Clemens is searching the room. Of course not, Jack. I assure you that Mr. Data would be most upset if you didn't. If I can't find that letter of intent that he left me, our major investor is going to pull out and take his business elsewhere. It has to do with Mr. Data's engine, doesn't it? Engine? Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. This is exactly what it's all about. Ow, he gets a shock from the machine. You know, Mr. Clemens, I'm going to do you another favor today. You're always looking for good stories, right? Well, I've got a humdinger for you, the story of my life. Now, I know you may think I'm young, but I've covered a lot of ground, and I do say myself it'd make for some pretty fascinating reading. So what do you think? About what? About writing my life story. You and me, literary partners, of course. Young man, I have a maxim that I've always lived by. No one is more qualified to write your story than you are. As long as you write what you know, you got any passion, boy? Any dreams? Uh, I'd like to do some traveling, maybe go to sea and Alaska. I've had the strangest notion to see Alaska. That's a great idea, son. That's exactly what I would do. If I were your age, Alaska, the Klondike, the Aurora Borealis, that's it. Follow your dreams and write about them. Thank you, Mr. Clemens. You know, that's exactly what I'm going to do. You do that, my son. You'll see my name in print, too. I'm sure I will, Mr. Clemens says. Don't forget, the name's London. Jack London. And Clemens says goodbye as he walks out. But you'll have to research it. But Jack London was a very, very famous author, and he wrote several stories about California and the wild, the wolf or something. I looked it up and I said it correctly in the last video, but I have misplaced my notes. And in my panic attack to get these videos redone in time for them to air when they're supposed to air, I misplaced my notes and I'm sorry for my inadequacy again. Let's get on. Okay. I found my little notes. Jack London wrote The Call of the Wild and the White Fang, both set in Alaska and the Yukon during the Klondike Gold Rush, as well as short stories To Build a Fire, Odyssey of the North, and Love of Life. And he also wrote the South Pacific in stories is The Pearls of Parlay and The Heathen. So that was Jack London. And they picked an actor that looked pretty much like him, too. So that was for that. Thank you so much for being patient with me. So there's Clemens with Data's machine when he takes the piece out. I want to know how he knew which piece to take out. So Data and Guinan come in. Guinan says, I found the head surveyor. I found the cavern. You will not be able to get into it. The entrance is a mine shaft that is in the middle of the Presidio of the army base. Perhaps you could arrange for us to get in. How? With permission to dig for the mine shaft, Data says. Oh, no, Data. I've done everything you've asked. I have full confidence in your persuasive abilities. Well, I suppose it's more interesting than throwing a tea dance. Strange. The transceiver assembly has been removed. Without it, I'll be unable to track the time shift. They go over to the machine. And then Twain, Guinan says. Clemens, Data says. Yes, he's been driving me crazy. He watches the house. He follows me down the street asking questions. If anyone took this, you believe it was him. If you are correct, he must be one. The device has been modified in such a way that prolonged contact with human tissue would be highly toxic. Then they hear a thump in the closet. Red-handed. Madam Guinan, Mr. Data. Shame on you, Mr. Clemens. Shame. Shame, madam? I think not. I find no shame in my efforts to uncover your plot. I keep telling you there is no plot. Yes, you keep telling me that. What an interesting pair. Uh, I lost my place. What an interesting pair you are. Where in Switzerland did you say you were from, Mr. Data? I'm French, sir, not Swiss. Oh, yes, that's right. Now I remember. A Frenchman with a talent for poker, from what I hear. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine, Chess Whitney. He says to say hello and wonders when you're coming back. I do not believe I know him, Mr. Whitney, Data says. No, he works in the county assayer's office. He says that you've been in there a number of times claiming to be a genealogical engineer and wanting information about mining operations during the 1815s. You remember him now? I am unfamiliar with the gentleman's name. I have spoken to several people at that office, Data says. Yes, I know, and the Hall of Records and the Geological Society and a little known mineral shop in Chinatown. You do get around, don't you? As apparently you do, Mr. Clemens. I must admit you've got me mystified. This contraption, for instance, is very unusual. It looks quite futuristic. Tell me, might it have something to do with time shifts? In a sense, the time shift is a gearing system I have invented for the horseless carriage. Do not insult me, Mr. Clemens says. You've come here to this century and you brought your infernal technology with you for God only knows what purpose. But I have no doubt it will be the people of this century who will suffer for it. My dear Mr. Clemens, I do think we've heard enough. Mr. Data's business is his own, and I will thank you to leave now. I just wanted to show the picture of Guinan and Data. And this is a bad shot. I'm sorry for my inadequacy today. I'm trying really hard to get this video to work. Um, Clemens says, pardon me, Madam Guinan, but it is my business too. It is the business of all humanity, I do believe, to stop both of you from whatever it is you are doing. And that is what I intend to do, he says as he leaves. Only does he know they're trying to save the world. So Picard is putting a transceiver in the lantern here when a cop comes up to him and calls him out on it. Or a doctor comes out. Sorry, a doctor, I got that wrong. Sorry. Just what are you doing with those lamps? Replacing the burner. City ordinance makes it safer in case of earthquake. There hasn't been an earthquake here for 30 years. Yeah, they're coming. You're California. They're coming. Um, just think about this. Uh, Now, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. It might not even happen in your grandchild or grand great 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 great. It might not happen for 5 or 600 years, but they're always predicting that California will get together with Hawaii at some point when the San Andreas Fault has its final outing. It may never happen. Who knows? We won't be alive to see it. But they keep predicting it'll happen one day, but not in our lifetimes. Um, and Picard just takes his ladder and leaves. Well, that takes care of this ward. Time to move on. And Picard just walks out. So then the doctor that was bugging Picard comes over to tell Dr. Crusher that he has a meeting with the board of patrons. Can she handle things by herself in the ward? And she's like, I'll try to manage in her demure way. So then she goes over to join Troy and Geordi. And there by the bed, I can see an after image of triolic waves, Jordy says. They've been here recently, I'd say within the last 24 hours. That's the bed where the man died last night. This man was complaining about strange doctor and nurse who visited the patient. Perhaps they're still in the hospital. Patient starts coughing, and Crusher goes over to gives him probably some Lodrum or something. And Picard's gas lamp detector flashes, and Dr. Crusher's tricorder beeps, and they come in. Okay, so her tricorder goes off, and she sees them. This is hard doing on two computers. Here's another shot of them. I keep trying to time this, and I keep getting the timing wrong. Sorry. So Dr. Crusher comes over. Do you need any help, Doctor? Dr. Apollere felt he had entered the algae stage. He was cytonic pulse unobservable. That's an interesting cane. The nurse points her bag at Dr. Crusher as Riker and everybody else comes in the room. So then Geordi goes after the guy, punches him out, and then Riker gets involved, and one of the policemen come in. Data gets a reading on his machine. He checks a map and stuff, and he's like, oh, I gotta go. So then the real policeman comes in. Stand aside, let me in here. People said there was a gunfire in here. What's going on? Just a little misunderstanding. I was just clearing these people out of here. I haven't seen you before. He confronts Riker. I was just assigned here this morning. I was working downtown. I worked downtown for 3 years. I don't remember you. Well, we'll be on our way. And they start working out. And the policeman's like, no, wait. I'm going to ask you all to come down to the station for questioning, including you. Where'd you get that? That's a gentleman's cane. Never seen a cane like this before. I'll have to confiscate it for evidence. Riker says, I just want you to know I have the utmost respect for law enforcement, and he punches the guy out. Here comes Data to the rescue on the horses. Don't know where he got the horse and carriage so fast, but he got them, and he's to the rescue. Boy, are we glad to see you, Jody says. I suggest we postpone our greetings for another occasion. Agreed, Picard. Let's get out of here. And they all get in the carriage and run. Okay, so they're all back in the rented room and they're back with Data. And Data has money, or he did have money. He had money. He won all that money in the poker game. So why doesn't he pay Mrs. Carmichael? That's my big beef with this. Yeah, I know they wanted to give the woman a chance to come in again. But why didn't they just give her the money? Why didn't Data just pay her? Because he had money. Unless he gave it all to Jack London, which is possible. But so I don't know why he didn't give her the money. And there's a cute little scene in here that I'm going to try and show. I probably won't be able to, but I'll try. Um, so Jordy is saying, if we tune a phaser to the approximate frequency of the trail-like waves and lay down a field burst, it might respond. The phaser shoots out, the cane head turns into a snake. The ophidian the aliens were carrying. It sends off energy charges before reverting to the cane. What the? These look like minute distributions in the space continuum, like the one we saw in Davita 2. Riker says they're so small they only last a second. Data says the aliens appear to be able to concentrate the distortion and direct it to a specific time and place. Maybe they have something, a mechanism that focuses it. Any device like that would require significant levels of trellic waves, like the ones in the cave where Data's head was found. I have located the cave, Data says. And then knocking on the door, this is Mrs. Carmichael. She's back. I just thought I'd show the snake thing that it does. I hope this video is working. I hope. I won't know till it's finished. She's back. I couldn't help doing that twice. I'm sorry. This is so hard to do. Mrs. Carmichael, now how spirit weather one you, Data says. Crusher says, over the hill, over the dell, through the bush, through the briar. Troy, Mrs. Carmichael, thank goodness you're here. We need someone to read a part, Picard says. You're just in time. Mr. Picard, I need to be talking to you. Crusher, my mistress would that he be gone. Ill met by moonlight, proud Titiana. Now, Mrs. Carmichael, right here. I'll meet by the moonlight, proud to, and he's showing her the book and showing her the lines. What jealous Oberon fairy skipends, I have forsworn his bed and company. Well, I don't think I need to hear any more. That was truly unique. So discombobulated. Um, Really, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have found our Tatiana. Don't you agree? They all applaud. Well, I do a church play when I was a lass. Well, there you are. We'll start rehearsals tomorrow. He kisses her on the cheeks and she goes out of the room. But let me see if I can get that incident with come on, do it quick. There we go. When she turns the book. They all could have just moved to Data's hotel room. It's paid for, right? It's paid for. So, Guinan's in his room, and Guinan says, you're back. I have wonderful news. I found a way to get into the Presidio and into the mine shaft. Data says it's all right. And then Picard walks in. She goes, do you know me? Very well. Do I know you? Not yet, but you will, Picard says. So then there's a reporter is talking to the cop. Thanks for your help, officer. Now be sure you put in the part about me spotting the phony policeman. Yes, sir. And then Clemens comes into it. Mr. Clemens, what brings you here? Writer's curiosity. I heard that two people vanished into thin air in this infirmary. One of the patients said that, yes, sir, but the police deny it. I bet they do. They say a band of outlaws set off explosions and my thing is cut off. Okay, I found it. Uh, his accomplices, they've come from the future. My God, it's an invasion. An invasion from the future, Mr. Clemens? What can you tell me about this? Do you have any proof? When's your deadline, boy? 5 o'clock. I'll meet you at your paper at 4:30 with that story that'll make your career, Clemens says. Thanks, Mr. Clemens. And he has the driver take him to the Presidio. Okay, so they're in the cavern. The triolic levels are high as they were under video 2. There's no indication of a control mechanism. I'm not so sure. My visor is picking up crystalline fractures. These cavern walls have undergone some kind of selective molecular polarization. In fact, if I'm right, the whole cavern has been configured to focus the space-time's distortion like a lens, Captain. We think we might be onto something. The cavern itself seems to be acting as a focusing mechanism. I'm willing to bet it's the same at their habitat back under Vivia 2. If we get back there and destroy that site, it might put an end to their time traveling. So they're all down in the cavern, talking about it. Truthfully, I don't know that we can get back. The aliens use triolic energy as a source. The energy our phases generates might not be compatible. Picard says we have no choice. And then they get company. And I just wanted to point out that Guinan is with them when they get the company. See if I can. There we go. There's company. An event I would most certainly enjoy witnessing. However, I will regretfully waive the opportunity for the privilege of taking you all into the authorities. Mr. Clemens, it's imperative that we continue our mission, Data says. Clemens says, Mr. Data, I have listened to your stories and your excuses and your evasions, and I will listen no longer. It is my moral duty to protect mankind for whatever devious plan you have in mind. Now move along. I suspect that even time travelers are vulnerable to a code 45. Now let's go. I made a young fellow a promise and I don't want to be late. And then the aliens come in. So the aliens come in and they do the porthole thing. They do a little scuffle. She gets injured a little and they all go through the porthole except Picard and Guinan and the lady. And this is where Data's head comes off. And they all go through the porthole that opens up. And Clemens decides to go with them. So Riker says, is everybody all right? I think so. You, where are we? When? This is the 24th century. We're on Davidia 2, and you're not supposed to be here. Well, it seems to me I have as much right to be in your time as you had to be in mine. I wanted to see how you've conducted my future affairs. Your future affairs? The affairs of mankind, but the disappearance of Mark Twain, one of the most noted literary figures of the 19th century. Well, thank you, Clemens says. That's not supposed to happen. I only took advantage of an irresistible opportunity as any good writer would be. And then we hear from Worf. Bridge to away team, acknowledge. And there's Data's headless body on the ground. So now Mr. Clemens is on the Star Trek Enterprise. Mr. Clemens sees Worf and calls him a werewolf. It's a long story, Mr. Worf. I'll brief you later. Let's have Data's body taken to the science lab. I'll try and reattach the head we have. Geordi, that head is over 500 years old, Dr. Crusher says. Yeah, but it's the best chance we've got. I want Mr. Clemens kept under escort at all times. Troy says, Commander, perhaps I could handle that. I'll be happy to take Mr. Clemens to his quarters. Good idea. If you would accompany the counselor, madam, I'd be delighted. So he goes off with Troy. So she's in period costume here, right? Okay, then we're back in the cavern with Picard and Guinan, and we really don't find out what's wrong with her. But we just know that she's hurt. And Picard tells her, don't sit up too quickly. Where'd everybody go? I hope they're safely all back on the Enterprise by now. But you're still here, Guinan says. You were hurt. I had to make sure you were all right. So you stayed for that? I didn't want anything to happen to you. You're far too important to me. You know an awful lot about me. Believe me, in the future the tables will be turned, Picard says. It goes far beyond friendship. Oh, but I'll have to wait 500 years, and when we meet, I won't be able to tell you about this, will I? No, because for me, none of this will have happened yet. And I wanna, should Picard, he spends a lot of time with her. He spends a lot of time with her here. Should he warn her and her to tell her people about the Borg? Because they end up wiping out most of her people. So should he warn her now about the Borg? What do you think? But he doesn't. And it happens. He doesn't want to feud up the timeline. But he could, you know, uh, warn her. But then, so then they see Data's head. Uh, and Guinan says, what's that? And Picard says, that's history fulfilling itself. So then we're in 10 forward with Guinan. uh, History has to fulfill itself. Even Picard knew that. You were there in the cabin. You know what happened. What am I supposed to do? If I told you what happened in the cabin, it would affect any decision you'd make now. I can't do that. I won't. Not telling me might affect my decision. Did you think of that? We're not talking about. We're talking about Jean-Luc Picard. I can't sit around and hope it works out. I've got to do something. Guinan won't tell him. She doesn't want to break the. So then they see Data's head. Uh, and Guinan says, what's that? And Picard says, that's history fulfilling itself. So then we're in 10 forward with Guinan. Uh, History has to fulfill itself. Even Picard knew that. You were there in the cabin. You know what happened. What am I supposed to do? If I told you what happened in the cabin, it would affect any decision you'd make now. I can't do that. I won't. Not telling me might affect my decision. Did you think of that? We're not talking about, we're talking about Jean-Luc Picard. I can't sit around and hope it works out. I've got to do something. Guinan won't tell him. She doesn't want to break the timeline. She could tell him to wait a couple of minutes on the torpedoes, though. But she doesn't want to screw up the timeline. She has this information. Isn't it weird that of all of them, she's the one person that exists in both timelines? Isn't that, it's, it's 500 years, but only she knows what happened. It's interesting that she's the only one that exists. Data, his head's in one timeline and his body's in another. But then they've got the head from the other timeline too. Oh, this is just screwy. Let's just go with the flow. I want to know when she had time to change. What'd she do? Take him to his cabin and leave him under lock and key while she ran back to hers to change? And why bother changing? She's hanging out with him. I And I also wanted to point out, and I think I pointed this out in previous videos, is that uh, Dr. Crusher's uniform is up here. All the men's uniforms are up here. Troy's is the only one that goes here. Think about that one. So she's walking with him in the hallway. Any place that doesn't take stock a good cigar doesn't rank high in my book. If you must have one, I'm sure we can replicate it for you. You must think one of those imitations can take the place of a hand-wrapped Havana? I wouldn't know. Well, that's the problem I see. All this technology, it only serves to take away simple pleasures. You don't let a man open a door for a lady anymore. I think what we've gained far outweighs anything that might have been lost. Oh well, I'm not so impressed with this future. Huge starships and weapons that can no doubt destroy entire cities and military conquest is a way of life. Is that what you see? Well, I know what you see, that this is a vessel of exploration and your mission to discover worlds. Oh, I gotta show this if I can figure out how to do it. So that's what the Spanish said. Deck 36, Troy says. And the Dutch and the Portuguese. It's all what conquerors say before. I'm sure that's what you told the blue-skinned fellow I saw before you brought him here to serve you. He's one of the thousands of species that we've encountered. We live in a peaceful federation with most of them. The people you see here are by choice. So, there are privileged few who serve on these ships, living in luxury and wanting for nothing. But what about everyone else? What about the poor? You ignore them. Poverty was eliminated on Earth a long time ago, and a lot of other things disappeared with it: homelessness, despair, and cruelty. Young lady, I come from a time when men achieved power and wealth by standing on the backs of the poor, where prejudice and intolerance are commonplace, and power is an end unto itself. You're telling me that isn't how it is anymore? That's right. Well, maybe it's worth giving up cigars after all, Clemens says. Shorty is working on data. Any luck, Troy says? Not so far. His activating units won't initialize. I thought they would have been protected by his buffering program, but I guess 500 years is just too long a wait. And then Clemens finds his watch on the table. My watch. Yeah, it was found in the cavern where Data's head was. I guess 500 after 500 years, that's not likely to work either. Mr. Data, I fear I sadly misjudged you, as I have misjudged many things, Clemens says. So then the female alien wakes up for a couple of minutes. Can you communicate? Picard says. Yes. You're injured. Why have you interfered with us? You hunt us, you kill us. We cannot allow that. Um, we need your energy. Perhaps we can find a substitute, Picard says. No, there is none. We must continue. Picard says, we know how you move back and forth through time. My crew have returned to the 21st century to destroy your transport site under Video 2. Destroy it. Your weapons will only amplify the time distortion. You'll annihilate your own world. And then she vanishes. Okay, so they were back on the Enterprise in the observation lounge. I'm going back for Captain Picard, Mr. Worf. Assemble an away team to accompany me to the surface. Doctor, I need to know anything you can tell me about the Ophidium. I've just started running some tests. If I can have a few hours. I can't give the aliens any more time. Well, I haven't been able to determine if phaser energy will generate a stable field. The risk would be. I'll take the risk, Riker says. Sir, with permission to speak frankly, our priority is to stop the aliens from any more incursions to Earth. Any delay is unacceptable. Riker says, if I can save Captain Picard, I consider that acceptable. The captain would not. I recommend we target photon torpedoes on the alien habitat and destroy it immediately. And then Troy says that he's right. Power up the photons, Mr. Worf. Alert me when they are ready. So then we're back in the lab with Geordi and Data, and he's trying to get Data to work, and he's not working. Um,
Computer, initialize reload circuits. Reload circuits are initializing. Okay, data, this ought to do it. And it doesn't work. So, Jordy, I don't know how well that shows. I tried to show it. There, he finds a piece inside data. An iron filling. How'd that get here? I did have an issue that Picard put his fingers up Data's nose. I just had an issue with the way he handled the head. It was just me. It was just me. It was just uh you know, and then he finds a little scrap of metal on the floor and he transmits the message. So he finds that little piece on the floor and he types in a message or taps in a message or whatever he does. So then we're back on the Enterprise. Commander, I have set the photons to fire in staggered rounds, detonating in 10-second intervals. Well, fire when ready. The sequence will be ready to initiate in 1 minute. And then we go to Geordi. Geordi gets data to activate. Computer, run a diagnostic on the input polarizers. Polarizers are functioning. Well, that ought to do it. Okay, data, come on now. Torpedoes, phasing, alien. I'm processing a binary message entered in my static memory by Captain Picard. Geordi, are we planning to fire on the alien habitat? Yeah. It's imperative that we do not. I will explain later. LaForge to Riker. Hold your fire! Hold your fire! Binary message left by Captain is not entirely clear. He seemed to be concerned about the phase differential of photon torpedoes, that firing them might produce catastrophic effects. Then how do we destroy their habitat? Dr. Crusher asked. If I'm correct, we must modify our weapons so that the force of the explosion is rephased into the alien's time continuum. If we outfit the photons with the phase discriminators, we can get the variance we need. How long will that take you? Riker asked. At least a couple of hours. Fine, I'll have time to go get him. Sir? I'm going back to the 19th century to get the captain. Doctor, my analysis of phasers suggests you'll be able to open the rift, but it won't be stable enough to transport more than one person. You mean if I go back, only one of us can return? That's right. And then Clemens comes in. Then I have the perfect solution for you. I'm the one should return to the 19th century and remain there so your captain can return. There's a risk. We're not sure how stable the rift will be. There's risk in everything. The point is it's the right choice. I've got more books to write, and your captain has a job to do here. Geordi, you'll brief him on what he needs to know. Aye, sir. I'm glad I have the chance to thank you. Data for what, sir? Why, for starting me out on the greatest adventure a man's ever had, and for helping a bitter old man to open his eyes and see the future turned out pretty well, after all. So then we're back in the cavern. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get help. We have to get you out of here. No, don't go. They'll be back for you soon. No, you need help. And then Clemens comes running in. This thing put me down in the middle of Market Street. Took forever to get here. Sorry. I just wanted to show that Clemens made it in. Okay. So then we're back on the Enterprise. Commander LaForge has completed the reconfiguration of the photon torpedoes. If Clemens got back, the captain should have been here by now. We have no way of knowing if Mr. Clemens was successful. Riker says, reestablish your firing pattern, Mr. Worf. We'll wait 5 more minutes more. Aye, sir. The Clemens says, no time for chit-chat, sir. According to Mr. LaForge, who did get your message, by the way, a frequency setting of 0.47 on your phaser will correctly activate this creature. Now you have to get help. Guinan needs medical attention. I promise she will attend to. And there's a bill to settle at Mrs. Carmichael's boarding house. I'll settle it. Thank you. I wish time would allow me to know you better. You'll know me. You'll have to just read my books, which is what I am pretty much there. And Guinan says, I will see you again in 500 years. And I'll see you a few minutes, Picard says. So then we're back on the Enterprise. Commander, I am picking up massive Trollic wave activity on the surface. Is it the captain? There's no human life signs. No sign of temporal distortion? No, sir. Trifolic activity is increasing, though. The aliens, Mr. Wolf, are the photons ready? Yes, sir. Fire. Torpedoes away. Sir, I'm detecting a temporal distortion on the surface and human life signs. Oh, Brian, get him out of there. Transporter room, have you got him? Indeed, sir. Indeed, Commander, and believe me, it's good to be back. Worf, have we destroyed the target? There's no further indication of Trifolic activity. Ensign, lay a course to the nearest starbase, Warp 6. Well, Captain's log, stardate 46013. Everyone who should be in the 19th century is safely there, and those who should be in the 24th century are safely here. Mr. Data has been restored to us, head and all, and Samuel Clemens will write the books he was to have written after our encounter. And Guinan and Picard are back together again. There's no words here. I would have liked an extended conversation, and there's not an extended conversation. So they're taking Guinan out on a stretcher. Don't worry, Madam Guinan, you're going to be fine. As the young Guinan is stretchered away, Clemens picks up his broken watch, then puts it down again to be found with the other artifacts in 500 years. And that is the end of Time's Arrow for the third time for me. And I appreciate you sticking it out with me. And I really do hope that you will be here for Realm of Fear next week. And I will warn you now, it has dialogue issues. It somewhere along the line is God, yeah, yeah, yo, ye, yow goes. So please forgive me. I'm not gonna redo that one. It's not that bad. You can still understand what I'm saying, although it gets a little. And hopefully, by the time I do Man of the People and Relics, I will have figured something out, or I have gotten help. I've put a plea out on YouTube for anybody that knows how to deal with this issue. I've run diagnostics on my computer 6 ways to Sunday, and it tells me nothing's wrong with my computer. So I have no clue what's going on there. Please also look at the If Then later this afternoon. That one went okay. And Flashback Mondays and my daily book reviews. Please hit the thumbs up and let me know I did a good job. Thank you.